welcome to Brand Story with me, Tarun Nangia. This is a special that we do as part of our Politics and Policy series where we track the growth of Indian political brands. And one name that come up in decisions in my travels all across India has been Himanta Biswa Sarma. In fact, let me start with an anecdote that when we travel across India, generally chief ministers and many people are not able to name the chief ministers of certain states. For example, Gujarat sometimes people forget, Rajasthan also, uh, Madhya Pradesh sometimes, but Assam chief minister is a chief minister where whenever I've asked anybody, they immediately say it's Himanta Biswa Sarma. He is so well known across the length and breadth of India. And today I'm going to speak somebody who has tracked his journey from the times when he was in the Congress party, albeit an unknown name, though he was famous but not as big as today. Somebody who knew him from then and who knows him now. I want to welcome brand strategist, communication expert, crisis communication strategy. This is what he does. Mr. Dilip Cherian, appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
At the outset, let me ask you, who is the real Himanta Biswa Sarma? Is he the administrator, the strategist, or the political disruptor in the Indian political landscape?
Actually, he is a combination of several things, but essentially, I think the 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 strength of Hemant Biswa Sharma is really two almost diametrically opposed, but yet complementary personas. So, what are these two personas? The first is that of a kind of, mama, benevolent guardian. And this is what he has been playing very well in the last few years as chief minister. The advantage of running that kind of image metaphor in the public, in the public space is that your maternal uncle or a mama is someone who is someone you can go to with favors, with requests, and it, in a sense, softens this chief minister kind of role, which eventually always gets locked in within a bureaucratic lockstep. So, by, in a sense, apportioning this moniker to himself, he has allowed the public to feel that he is not just the cold delivery mechanism of a state welfare schemes, and which he has announced many of, but the welfare schemes are seen as emanating from an elder family member. So, he's giving it to you. It is a freebie, but the fact is that it's an uncle who's giving it to you, like a familial connection.
I want to ask you, leaving Congress party in 2015, which he did, was it the single biggest turning point of his career, or he was on a growth path anyways, or do you think that this turn and then he becoming the chief minister really propelled him into the big leader that he's talked of as today pan-India?
I'll answer that question, but I want to just use this to say that I talked about one kind of duality of his purpose. The second duality is actually what you're talking about, the political marksman. He's he chose his target, he struck it, which was getting out of the clutches of the kind of Rahul Gandhi system, which he didn't want to be part of. And he knew that within that system, he would always be second in command to the Gogoi kind of thing. So politically and strategically, when he struck, his timing was right. He knew that within the Congress party, there were limits to how far he could go, given the huge weight of the Gogoi legacy on Assam. And he said, let me try,
So I want to ask you that if you today look at brand Himanta Biswa Sarma, see, in the end, today there are very few politicians whose name pan-India can be remembered by people. I remember in the UPA time, there were 3 dozen or so. That number has shrunk considerably. Himanta Biswa Sarma is one of those that though he's in the Northeast, everyone knows him. What is his brand status today in the Indian political, in a sense, arena?
One of the qualities which endears him across the country is the fact that he speaks a kind of patwa which they understand. It is a Assamese Hindi. It is neither Hindi nor Bangla nor Assamese. The accent and the fact that he is deliberately mauling and creating immense damage to the Hindi language is something that he's proud of. So by keeping that alive, Hemanta becomes acceptable in Karnataka. He can be listened to in Orissa, and he has a following even in Uttar Pradesh, where purity of Hindi would be considered a quality. So Hemanta has managed to segue from being a purist and not even attempting to occupy the Hindi hemisphere. He's made it part of his style. And I think that is a very important quality which makes him acceptable across many, many states, which besides Yogi, there is no other chief minister in the pantheon of BJP chief ministers who has that kind of appeal.
So they have said that Himanta Biswa Sarma has used, in a sense, a strategy to polarize to increase his popularity. But on the other side, there is his work as an administrator in Assam. Do you think he's known as a, what you can say, polarizing politician, or as an administrator who's delivered in Assam in development and other indicators?
This is all to do with politics, Tarun. In politics, if you are known as a great administrator, there is only so much of visual and mind space that you can win during elections. So, if you're a great administrator, people expect that of you, meaning that is the basis of which you are chief minister. So, when I talked about Mama, what he has done, he has made it memorable because he makes the freebie look like part of the family goodies. But to get eyeballs, he makes these extreme ideological statements on immigration, on Muslims, on everything else, because that gives him additional space. So, in a sense, the opposition is left, you know, he's the dream communications person because you leave the opposition gasping for breath and for space.
So this statement that he makes, which is polarizing on minorities or on immigration, is in reels all across the country. Do you think it is a strategized statement more than just something that he says?
It is an occupy mind space tactic. It is definitely a tactic. He may believe a part of it, but he knows that doing this creates enormous, shall we say, popularity for the reels and the memes that follow. Because don't forget that there is a whole BJP machinery, which is a Bhakt machinery, which is willing to popularize it. So
Because
he's riding that wave.
see, anybody who has met him, and we know so many who do, they say that he's the most accommodating person as a in a personal life. He has many friends in the minorities. He wines and dines with them. They are friends. He does their work also. So as an administrator, he's most affable. But then when the camera is on, he issues a statement, and that completely changes the narrative about him. So do you think this is how politics of today is? That you have to do some things to capture the attention of the masses, and while you can do your work as an administrator in a completely different manner.
Being affable and polite is part of his character, which we know from a long time. But this is also what makes him nationally relevant. So, by doing that kind of pan India kind of statement, either on terror or on borders or
Yes.
whatever it is, he becomes nationally significant. And every election or every occasion when he's trotted out for elections, he's using that platform to increase his national footprint. So, what you started with, which is the anecdote of the fact that Hemanta is a name that others do remember, irrespective of which state you're going to or which judge you're talking to. The fact is that here is a man who uses every opportunity to do this. Now, it is uh, it's a it's a kind of positioning, but remember that unlike other politicians, Hemanta is probably one of the few politicians who is digitally native. Everything he's creating, whether the hand gesture, whether the words, whether the language, whether the mutilation of Hindi, all of it is designed for reels and for memes.
And also, because you brought that aspect in, he's a lawyer too. So he knows how to be legally on the right side while he does all the talking.
He stretches the legality to the point of just not breaking it, but as far as it will go, and to ensure within what he says there's utter deniability of anything that may actually cause him trouble. Yes.
Can you analyze this for us, that since independence of India, is Himanta Biswa Sarma BJP's most influential leader in Northeast, or there have been others, or do you feel that he's sort of outgrown all of them now?
Let's start with your initial question. Himanta Biswa Sarma, besides being mama and besides being provocative, has also crafted himself as the gateway to the Northeast. Whether it is the announcement of semiconductor units, or whether it is the inauguration of an airport somewhere, or whether it is the ability to send police forces to a neighboring state because they need it, Hemanta Sharma is able to not only just play at the edge of the law, where he is able to do more than any other chief minister. One, he's master of a very large state, very resourceful state, and something that makes him be the obvious gateway to a whole Northeast. This could not have worked in the earlier administrations. Because the Northeast is central to the BJP's vision of India, he has played that card very well.
I want to ask you something that, see, you have worked with industries and industrialists now for decades. You understand what they need in a state. Do you think he's also being projected or himself as an industry friendly face? Someone who can not only interact but get investment into his state? Because, not every chief minister has been able to build that image. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was chief minister, had worked very hard to cultivate the image of being an industry-friendly person. And there are others who have tried, but not many have succeeded in developing that image. Do you think Himanta Biswa Sarma has succeeded in building that kind of an image for himself?
Look at it from this point of view, Tarun. What are the constraints of investing in the Northeast to start with? Safety and scale. Safety for the investment and scale, because the Northeast is not yet seen as a large market. Because he has projected himself as not just the chief minister of Assam, but in a sense, the chief minister of a federal Northeast, he is able to promote and promise scale. Security, because he is known as the hard, administrative, non-forgiving kind of guy, investors, especially industrialists, have great confidence in him. But above all this, there is the overlay of someone who is chummy, friendly, and willing to talk to you, and most importantly, knows you by name. So Hemanta Biswa Sarma's earlier existence allowed him to understand and be connected to many more people in the world of business than many other chief ministers. I remember when I was doing Vibrant Gujarat in the first iterations for Chief Minister Modi, the problem was that people didn't know him enough. Therefore, you had to have scale and global size people. But with Hemanta, even the global size people, and that is why, for example, he made that huge dramatic appearance at World Economic Forum, first time that Assam went there. So he wants to become someone who the world recognizes as a significant chief minister to do business with.
I want to ask you something that does, for example, his rivals give him a lot of stature. For example, I remember in the Congress, both Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi spoke about him and made some very strong statements in their rallies. So when the country's leader of opposition and the Congress's first family in that sense talks about you, do you think the importance or the relevance of that person grows because they are not speaking of many other leaders in opposition? They don't speak about the Madhya Pradesh chief minister, the Gujarat chief minister, or even the Rajasthan chief minister, but they speak about Himanta Biswa Sarma. Do you
Well,
think?
for a start, he is somebody who has left the party under very strong pressures created by him. He created a whole ecosystem, an eddy current of anxiety around the leadership of Rahul, etc. So therefore, that gave him stature. But the reason why they feel that he is worth attacking is because Assam is a state where they didn't believe that they would not have a chance at victory. So, as we know, if you lose a state for 3 times, the chances of revival in that state is very low. And therefore, it has given them greater anxiety.
Yeah, you are right in that sense because there were a lot of noise was created around Gaurav's name, but Gaurav Gogoi's name, but he lost his seat if I'm not wrong. In that sense, of course, now brand Himanta Biswa Sarma stands vindicated that he is the undisputed leader in Northeast as of today. I want to ask you something that in retrospect, for example, will Himanta Biswa Sarma be remembered as primarily as an Assam chief minister like Tarun Gogoi was? Everybody knew him as Assam chief minister. Or he will be known as the architect of something bigger in India, bigger than being a chief minister of Assam.
To my mind, the fact is that Gogoi is poised for national presence. He has no way but up. He has been at the top of the state stage for long enough. Now his brand stature and his brand equity is enough to propel him into a national role. Now, this kind of high decibel chief minister is something that the center and its ministers don't have at the moment. And therefore, he fits into a kind of ideological narrative shift where you've delivered certain things and you want someone who can speak with pride about it and also oppose the things that they want to oppose. So I think that he is at a pivot point. He'll have to decide. It's not a question of will he succeed. It's only a question of when will he make the move.
And do you think, given his age and he remains to be very young, and you also highlighted the fact that aside of Yogi Adityanath, he's the only other famous chief minister in the country today. Would you sort of say that his long innings is just about started now?
I think Hemanta is probably at the what I would call the most dangerous phase in both corporate life as well as in the career graph of senior executives as well as in lawyers. He is past his half life. So now is when he can make the big move. The risks are lower and the opportunities are higher.
Indeed, interesting to talk to you today about brand Himanta Biswa Sarma. We'll continue to track him. He's a very important leader. Pan India spoken about, as I said in my introduction, and I know that he will do something which will keep him in the news even in this coming year of 2026 and 27, which will give us enough opportunities to talk about him. I think one thing that he has surely learned is the art of being in news for months together after every statement he makes. I think despite delivering on administration, he's not going to stop occupying, as they say, the mind space of young Indians, of the youth of India. And that is what we'll continue to watch out for. I would like to thank you for your time on this special series titled Rise and Rise of Band Himanta Biswa Sarma, and looking forward to talk to you about him more in the coming shows as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.